Hola, and welcome to Ticket to Life. And thanks for tuning in. If you are listening for the first time, I welcome you with open arms. My arms are open and welcoming you to Ticket to Life. And just to let you know, not sure what this is about. Ticket to Life is all about anything and everything in life. How many of you have ever heard of the idiom, the straw that broke the camel's back? I'm sure most of you have, but perhaps not some of the younger listeners. And just to let you know what it means, it is a simple little thing that can mean a whole lot. It means when everything seems to as though nothing but negative and negative events are happening. And just when you think it's about to get better, something else happens. And you may fall on your knees and start to cry. I think that pretty much most adults and even teens, heck, even little kids, have done this. I'm pretty sure I have in my past. I think that we have all gone through something in our lives. And it has made our life feel as though it's just falling apart. But guess what? There is always light at the end of the tunnel. Now, for some of us, we are just accepting. And when things happen, we just accept it. And that it just has happened for a reason, and we can move on. Not everyone can do this. It is not an easy task. I, for one, do try. Notice I said try to accept things and try to move on. But don't think I don't think about the thing that caused the crack or the break of the camel's back. I'm going to use an example, and if I have any HOA members from my neighborhood listening, I hope you enjoy what I'm about to say or get upset. But I hope not. But so I'm going to use as an example when the camel breaks, with the last straw, it breaks the camel's back. And the example is at our last HOA meeting. Well, let me give you the disclaimer before I even start doing this. I better say something. I am not a mediator for meetings that go wrong. And not all neighbors here were upset, just some. And they were very calm and listened as an adult meeting should go when you go to a meeting with grown adults. And this is just my opinion of the meeting, what I saw, what I heard. And it was not a quiet and reserved meeting where everyone was laughing and pretend they knew all their neighbors and that they liked all their neighbors. But I told my husband I was waiting for torches and pitchforks to come out. I mean, some people got really loud. And people were raising their voices. And at one point, my husband got in his police mode, now retired police officer, and raised his voice and told everyone to calm down. Now, it's funny that just one instigator in that room can get a whole room of adults upset and going. We all need to follow someone because of one person. Everyone was all of a sudden, yeah. I'm like, really? So I'm not going to do that. I don't follow people. I might listen to them, but I am not going to do that either. It was a big hoopla, and I am just wondering what triggers people to hear someone speak and then start to follow them and believe them. They don't even know them. It was crazy because there were all these people because they're having a problem with some HOA problems in the neighborhood, but we're just not getting it and not listening. But as soon as someone said something negative and loud, everyone's like, yeah. So anyway, back to this. I don't know what triggers people to follow so easily, but I will listen to anyone's opinion, and I don't have to agree with it, but I will be civil or at least try to be. Now, for me, it was a bit of what broke my camel's back to see these people behave. And yes, it was because of my husband, because my husband's the president of the HOA. But one thing that you don't want to do with me is mess with my husband, my family, and my friends. So I will admit it is something that I have a hard time of letting go to this when someone does this behavior of some of these adults. Now, understand him being president, was a group and they nominated him. He didn't want it a second time, but he did it because nobody else wanted it. And the one that did say, I'll do it if you don't. Well, you don't want someone to have that thing, but anyway, someone has been said, yes, I know what I'm so far so good at. But anyway, so it's a volunteer position. And the management company that takes care of the HOA, they take care of everything. They take care of the funds. We don't have funds. We don't get the money. Again, it's a volunteer. But he is basically the liaison pretty much. People call and email, and it can just I'm sure he's very patient. He has to be. He's been married to me for 40 years. But I had to take a deep breath, and you see, I did take it personally. So what can we / I do to get my camel back up and walk through the desert of life, or take that deep breath? I can maintain my composure. Don't lose my cool. Stay poised and calm. Always easier said than done, right? Have you ever been in that position where someone upsets you because of someone you care for and love? So how many of you have had your camel get a crack and then bam, it breaks? Life is full of negativity, and we must try to repair that crack. It starts with a crack. I like to say good things happen to good people, but I'm always saying that. When something good happens to someone I know, and I say, well, good things happen to good people. But the downside is bad things happen to good people too. And I can't say that. Well, bad things happen to good people too. I can't say that, but we all know that. Some of us wonder why people who are not so good, and question why things just keep going their way. But are they? Are all things going their way? Many only share the good and not the bad or the sad. And where we have social media, we can only show the happy. No, we can share more. But people choose to only show the good. And trust me, I don't like to share everything on social media that is sad or bad in my life. Although I can't say bad things happen, and usually I just accept them when they do. And why? Because more than likely it is out of my control. If something bad happens or something sad happens, most of it's out of my control. And that's the thing that I have accepted in life. Not everything is in my control. And I know that it isn't a Job thing. Now, if you heard my podcast a few weeks ago, it's the story of Job. Job story podcast about the bad stuff that happened, the poor man. If you've heard the podcast, it's about a poor man and so much happened to him. But at the end, he came out shining with God's grace. And if you haven't heard it, go to Ticket to Live podcast, and you can, if you can make some time, it's episode 138. And I'll put a link to the description. On the description, I'll put a link to that episode if you care to hear it. But trust me, you may see your life in a different light after hearing the story of Job. When things are looking like your camel's back is about to break, just remember, it's not a Job thing. I hope most of you are following this and not getting lost with my ranting about the HOA and the straw that broke the camel's back. But here are some things that I think might be able to help us notice. I said, notice that I did say us, not you. Yes, I must put myself in this category. Now, we have lost our job. A friend betrayed you. Your lover, significant other, says they can't deal with you and want out after a year of being together. Or your colleague has taken over a project that was your idea. Or your church leader has led many in the wrong direction. Family and friends, and even people you don't even know, like a cashier or a person in the parking lot, can make you feel as though your camel's back is about to crack. Trust me, it's going to crack before it breaks. Here are things that we can try other than take a deep breath and just remember that I am using the metaphor of using the idiom of straw that broke the camel's back, because we all don't own camels. Okay, now being silly, but things that might help us and actually make us look pretty good at the end. First of all, I will say I always try to find positive, and that's one of the things, but I'll just start with my little list here. We and I really have to work. I really do have to work at this. And I need to master the art of listening and not interrupt. I am a good listener, but still working on not interrupting and not to take over a conversation or correct someone when they're trying to tell me something. Because in my mind, I know that they missed something in the story or missed something in what they're trying to tell me, but I already know it. And I'll go, oh, no, that's not how it happened. It was actually, it was Tuesday, not Thursday when that happened. I am guilty. I am so guilty of doing that, especially to my husband. I'm trying my best to bite my lip. And if you should ever see me and someone is talking to me and I have my finger over my lips, that means I am trying to keep my mouth shut. I am trying. I'm a work in progress. Now, one of the main things, another thing is maintaining a positive outlook on any situation. And for that, I do need to remind myself that it's not a Job thing when something is really going. I could think that, oh man, I needed a new battery. Oh, I need a new battery in my car. And I was like, oh, because when, there's nothing worse when your car breaks down. Nothing worse. But cars are meant to last so much longer now. But it wasn't a big thing. It was my husband took care of it, or I could have taken care of it, but he took care of it for me. And again, it wasn't a Job thing. It was, I just needed a new battery. And that was it. It wasn't like I needed a new motor or a new engine. It was just a battery. And I could have gotten really upset, but I have to find the positive. So I do always try to find some positive in something negative. Now, practicing gratitude and find the emphasis on the positive, because believe it or not, there's usually positive again in everything. Although we might not see it right away, but we may see it later, or not even realize that it was positive caused by a negative. I will tell you, my first marriage ended in negative. But I promise you, I am in heavenly positive with my second marriage. So those of you who have had a rough time in a relationship and then all of a sudden think, I'm fine. Before you know it, you could be in love again and it could be the one. Or you could have the dream job and then it's lost. But that positive can come and you don't realize it when these things happen, that you're thankful for that negative thing that happened, because without it, this positive in your life would not have been able to take place. So that's Pollyanna speaking. Always find positive. Now, being kind, I think that's just something we should all be born with or raised to believe, is to be kind to one another. And why would you be kind when you feel as though your camel's back is about to crack. We have all heard kill with kindness. And while a person is causing the crack is angry and cursing and pointing fingers, oh, I do not like people pointing fingers. But the best thing is to smile and be agreeable. And plus, it might actually help you feel better. At first, you might be steaming inside. But just keep that smile on your face. And in the long run, that you be happy that you didn't lose your cool. Be agreeable. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay. And if that doesn't work, just say, I have to go now. We can continue this later. And turn around and walk away. Now, this is, again, easier said than done. Because it takes a lot to smile. And yes, it would be a fake smile. A lot to just be agreeable. And then to not lose your cool. But in the long run, if you don't argue with someone, they're technically just spewing. And they have no one to argue with but themselves because they're just blah, 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 blah. So the next thing is, if someone that you value in your life or family, a colleague, then invest the time to help them to see why you value them in your life and why this whole situation has just blown up out of control for something as not agreeing on your political view. Now, I'm not sure if that will work for some because some people cannot bend or, just be respectful of what people agree, their opinion on anything is. But I use political view because it is an election year. But it's worth a try. People need to know how you value them. I need to know. I like to know that people value my opinion, or maybe they don't. Why this Henrie? She sucks at this. I don't know why I always go to her. But it is. We are all entitled to an opinion, and we should value other people's opinion. But also, we need to value our relationship with people. Because life is too short. I will tell you that. And one more thing, and this is a very important thing to me, and it is don't pretend that you are someone that you aren't. Just be you and let people know that this is what they get. They get you. And I think you're pretty valuable. And of course, to be in someone's life, and hopefully they will realize that your relationship is a way more important than anything with opinions, and they will accept who you are, and you will accept who they are. We are, again, all different, and we all have our own opinions. Always remember to be true to yourself and embrace who you are, imperfections and all. No one, as I have said, no one is perfect, and you are more valuable, especially if someone tries to break your camel's back. Don't allow them, or don't let it bring you down. Some people can be just mean, and you know that. I've talked about that. Adults are bullies, just like children can be bullies. I'm not sure where all these bullies came from, but they came from someplace. But I think it's so important for us to remember how important we are, and how important people in our life are. I know that I have had conversations with people, and I just don't agree with what they're saying. And I'm sure I put my finger over my lips, like, But if I have, it's been because I will listen to what you have to say. I may not agree with it, but one day you may not be here. And I will miss having that conversation with you. As adults, it's easy for us to say that we can commit to being good people and being kind and never losing our cool with one another. But we do. And some people, again, I was talking about last week, I believe it was last week's podcast was being ghosted. And like I said, some people get a rise out of that. And I'm not sure why, but that would definitely be the straw that break my camel's back. If I ever found out someone was just being mean to be mean and push my buttons and at the end they pretended to be my friend. Again, you are valuable. You are valuable, and that's what you need to remember. Don't let anyone put that last straw in your on your camel's back. I don't know about you, but I think that camels got a bad rap for comparing their backs to when too many things go wrong in our life. And if you are wondering if a camel's back can actually break with too much straw or any other heavy loads, yes, they can. I had to look that up. I thought, well, somebody said this for a reason. Let me look it up. So it says it can. Of course, heavy loads, just like us. If we carry something too heavy, I'm sure it could break our backs. But poor things, I've seen these movies where they put all that stuff on the camel's back, which makes sense when they say that. But everything except the kitchen sink is on their back. There has to be a better way, right? This is 2024. So, okay. So, let's reevaluate everything I've talked about. Let's think about who has put that straw that broke your camel's back. Is there someone still putting that straw in your camel's back? Pushing that button? Seeing how far you can bend? Well, we can all bend, but we do break. Words are so hurtful. And people, as I said, physically, the wounds will heal. Hopefully. But verbally, they'll stay with you forever. If we let them, we all need to remember we need to live in the now and not in the past. Are you putting that last piece of straw on your camel's back because you can't let something go that you may have done or said to someone in the past? I know sometimes I can, but that's the thing. We have got to be able to let those things go. Ask God for forgiveness. It was something horrific, but you should always ask God to forgive you for anything, but you should also forgive yourself. Sometimes we do things without thinking. We can be, if we get too deep in a relationship, it could be at work, school, at your home life. We forget about everything else because we're just focused on that. We forget about ourselves. And because we do that, it's not healthy mentally, physically, that we don't take care of ourselves. It's so important. I know I talk about negative and positive a lot on this podcast because it's important for me to pass that on to you, that there's positive. I don't know how many of you have ever heard of this movie. It's A Wonderful Life. It is with James Stewart. Usually comes out at Christmas, like nonstop. It's black and white, but there's a color version also. And I'm sure many of you have seen it, but because it was released in 1946, a lot of young people have not seen it. But a quick synopsis of the movie is that there's a man, and his name is George Bailey, and he is having financial problems. And then there's the old, hateful, rich man in town that wants everything. He wants the town. He wants everything. And actually, he is played, Old Man Potter. He's played by Drew Barrymore's great-grandfather, I think it is. But anyway, so he, Old Man Potter. So he's, again, hateful, rich, and he's trying to take the family business away from George Bailey, who is played by James Stewart. I don't know how many of you know who he is, but anyway, because of Old Man Potter, he plants a seed in George's head. And I'm sure there are many of you who have had seeds planted in your head. But I'm not going to tell you the whole thing because then you won't watch it. But anyway, so Old Man Potter plants a seed in George's head because George is at a loss, doesn't know what to do, where to turn to. And he says, now these are not the exact words, but this is what I recall. Old Man Potter tells George, you are worth more dead than alive. More dead than alive. How? I know it's just a movie, but you know there are people that are that mean in the world that would say something like that to someone. And the only reason this man says this to George is because George had his life insurance policy, and so that's why he tells him you're better off being dead. You're worth so much more than alive. Where I'm getting at is Old Man Potter placed the last straw on George's camel's back. He listened to what he said, and he believed it. Don't listen to people when they tell you something negative about you. You know who you are, and you are to be loved. Always remember, that's so important for me to remind people that you deserve to be loved. And you are loved by God. God loves you. He loves you each and every day. But back to the movie. I know it sounds sounds gruesome for a Christmas movie. But do not let anyone, again, put this strong thing in your head, anything negative. But believe it or not, the movie does have a happy movie ending. It's a very happy ending. Well, it always makes me cry, but then now at my age, I cry at everything. It's a classic, and if you have a chance, be sure to see it at least once. So, okay, I'm done with talking about camels and the straw that broke your camel's back, or my camel, your camel. Maybe I'll get a camel. I don't know. As much as I would love to sit and chat with you the whole day on the beach with a cold beverage, all good things must come to an end. And it is time for Henrie to say, thank you so much for listening. And just remember, as bad things come, they're not a Job thing. Go find your blessings, and can't wait to see you next time.